Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. I'm just going to share my screen. So 1 second. All right. Oops. You can watch me struggle for a minute. All right. Hopefully that's coming through clearly for you all. Hi, I'm Michelle Goodridge. I'm the head of user and access services at Wilfrid Laurier University. And Graham, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Graham Lavender, and I am Associate Librarian at the Michener Institute in Toronto.
Awesome. And today we are here to talk to you about the CAPAL Research and Scholarship Mentorship Program, a year in review. So to give some background context, in 2021, the CAPAL Research and Scholarship Committee launched a mentorship program. And this was to bring together early career researchers with seasoned scholars to help support them through their research projects. We ran a pilot program from July until April of this year, with the goal of this session is to go over this program, to present our findings and our data, and to discuss the future of the program. The subcommittee presented a journey mapping exercise at last year's CAPAL Conference. You may have attended, and we're very excited to report on the progress of our program. So just to go over who are members of our committee. So Graham and I were co-chair. We also had Carol Liebiger, Brianne Selman, and Katie Harding as members.
Okay, so as Michelle mentioned, the program launched in summer of 2021 and ran until April. And we chose April for the end date for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's the end of the academic year, but also because we anticipated wanting to present our findings to you. So we purposefully wrapped it up in April so that we'd be able to gather some data, take a look at it, and be here today to present to you. So thank you so much for being here with us. So the goal of the library, the program, was to bring people together, people who are interested in learning more about research and scholarship, in small groups, each group led by a mentor who could help to guide the mentees through their research projects. So the mentors were all established academic librarians, and the mentees, some of them were students, some were recent grads, and some were experienced librarians who were maybe doing research for the first time, or maybe just wanting to go a little bit deeper with their research projects. So we left the program very unstructured, and we did that on purpose because we didn't want to be too prescriptive. We didn't want to tell everyone, okay, you must meet this many times, and here's what you need to discuss at your meetings, and here's what your outcomes need to be. We didn't want to do that because we knew we had a really keen and creative bunch of people, and we wanted them to have the opportunity to make this program into whatever would be useful for them. And because it was a pilot, we really wanted to try this approach, gather some ideas, and see how it went. So as we'll discuss later, this approach worked really well for some groups, didn't work so well for some other groups. So around the time that we were starting this program, the CAPAL Student Committee was also launching a mentorship program. So we were in touch with them to just make sure that there wasn't too much overlap between the two programs. And we found there wasn't. Their program was more of a general mentorship program, and ours was a very specific research and scholarship mentorship program. But we did stay in touch with the student committee, and we met with Emily from the student committee and really went over some ideas, especially for when we were coming up with our exit survey. And it was really, really handy to have someone to bounce some ideas off of, and someone who was going through the same experience of creating a mentorship program for the first time. So altogether, we had 25 people sign up for the program, 19 mentees and 6 mentors, and we had representation from almost all the way across Canada, which was really nice to see, and even one participant from the United States. Now, when we had discussed how we were going to put this program together, we thought of a lot of things. We thought about, should we allow students or do we want just professionals? Should we allow non-CAPAL members to participate? And because it was a pilot project, we really wanted it to be as open as possible. We wanted as many different people as possible to participate, and we just wanted to be really inclusive. So we put together a registration form, but we accepted everybody who applied to the program. And the registration form had, the information you'd expect. Where do you work? Are you a student? What kind of experience do you have with research and scholarship? And we also asked about their areas of research interest. And this part is what we use to actually match up the groups. So once everyone had filled in the registration form, we took that big spreadsheet and looked at that column about what are your research interests. And we went through there and we tried to group people based on that. And I think we were fairly successful with that. Next slide. Okay. So we kept, as I mentioned, we kept the structure as open as possible, but we did need to have some description of what we were expecting for the project. So we did put a statement on the CAPAL website that included a statement of purpose, again, which is very brief, program intake information, the role of mentors and mentees, all very brief, and 4 guiding principles, and these were inspired by the guiding principles for graduate student supervision from the Canadian Association of Graduate Studies. The first was this idea that everyone should be at least available to meet a minimum of 1 hour per month. Again, we didn't say folks absolutely had to meet for 1 hour per month, but they should be available. Mentees should allow mentors at least 2 full business days to respond to email questions. This was a bit arbitrary, but we just wanted to emphasize to the mentees that the mentors are busy people, and we wanted them to have realistic expectations about how soon they might hear back. Mentor-mentee relationships should be professional. We wanted to have something in here about intellectual property and authorship. If a mentor helps a mentee with their research project, that doesn't that doesn't necessarily mean that the mentor should now be an author on something that they publish. And conflict should be solved at the lowest level possible. So this is just suggesting some ways that conflict could be resolved. So we had always planned to send out an exit survey at the end to gauge the success of the program. We got some anecdotal feedback before that point, which was helpful because it helped us to choose what questions we wanted to ask in the more structured survey. So we had a mixture of open-ended questions and Likert scale questions, and we had 15 respondents out of 25 participants, which we thought was a pretty good rate. So here are just a few examples of responses that we received. We asked what was the most valuable part of the program, and one person said, the support, connections, and sharing of different ideas and experiences that resulted through monthly meetings. It is something I will miss having scheduled each month. So something like that is really, really nice to hear. Another person said, my mentor was fantastic about making sure that even though we were a group, we still felt individually supported. So again, people having some positive experiences, but we also wanted to get some of that critical feedback, which is really the most constructive for how do we improve the program moving forward. So one person said, we didn't know what to make of our mentorship program. The group wanted to go in a direction, but was directionless. And we did have definitely several comments of people feeling that there was not enough structure. They sort of had these meetings and they weren't sure what to do. So that was something that is useful for us to know moving forward.
Okay, so some overall trends from the feedback that we received. Interesting stuff to learn. Fun enough that we had almost a near 50-50 split between people wanting more structure or thinking that the freedom of no structure was great. So not sure what to take from that, but it's interesting that there was both sides very well represented. Groups did have some difficulties in general meeting and coordinating schedules, as I'm sure most people who have tried to book a Zoom meeting in the last 2 years have found out. Some groups thought that being grouped by their research interest was really helpful. They were able to have pointed discussions and learn from each other, and it was very relevant to the research that they were doing, whereas others found that it wasn't necessary to have the same research interest. In fact, it was beneficial because they were able to learn something new or something outside of what they focus on, and they saw it as a learning opportunity. Most of the respondents thought our groups of 2 to 4 mentees per mentor was good size. Lots of respondents noted connections that they've made with librarians across Canada, which again, I think is a benefit of this being an online sort of program, is that we're able to get folks from all over the place and connect with each other in ways we weren't able to before. There was also a wide range of time invested in the program. So as you saw before, we were encouraging monthly meetings of about an hour, but we got anywhere from 1 to 2 hours of meetings total for the several month program, upwards to 5 hours per month spent. And there was definitely a correlation between more time spent as a group and meeting with your mentor and positive comments versus folks that weren't able to find times to meet, did not meet very often. Those were more of the negative comments. So what are some lessons that we've learned? Well, if we decide to continue this program, we're thinking that we might want to create a framework that would include ideas on how to facilitate group meetings. That is completely optional. So for the folks that are directionless, they can go to this guide and they can pull some direction from that. I don't think we want to completely take over and really design out what this will look like, because some folks did like the freedom. We would also want to maybe reevaluate the start time of the program. So we had it starting in July, and it's very difficult, as all of you know, in academic libraries to find the right time to do these sorts of things, depending what your job is and your role. There seems like there's never a good time in the year to do anything, but maybe July wasn't the best bet. We might also want to do some more check-ins with the groups, or maybe even plan some sort of quarterly events to try to bring everyone together so that we're hearing how things are going. Maybe we can step in, maybe we can help. Again, we were trying to be really hands-off in the beginning, but maybe we do need to be a little bit more involved. And having really clear language around expectations, I think, would be helpful. We did have a small guide that Graham was talking about a little bit earlier, but maybe we need to build that out a little bit more. Okay, I think that is it for us. Does anyone have any questions?
Thanks so much, guys. I'll read off any questions if they come in. But so far we don't have anything. So you guys can put that in the chat or the Q&A. I'm really interested in your program if it does continue. How would I get involved?
That is a good question. So Graham and I, for different reasons, are not going to continue with the committee. We're obviously going to share with them what we've learned. So Graham has left his email address that you can contact him at. And then we'll see who wants to take over the reins and continue with the program in the future.
Awesome.
And of course, we would consider second-time mentees. Thanks for the question. I hope you liked it.
Did mentees discover more of their home library systems with their mentors from different library systems? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I'm not sure I 100% understand the question, but I think people did really appreciate having the opportunity to be working with people from other libraries, as we were saying, across the country, because that's, I think a lot of the time when people are doing research collaboratively, you might collaborate with somebody at your library, but it's nice to have the opportunity to be talking to people from other places as well.
Yeah, thanks.
So did they gain a new appreciation of their own library systems? That's a very good question. That did not come up in the feedback, so we can't really speculate on that. But I would imagine so.
Yeah, I mean, like the goal of the program was to get someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of publishing experience or someone who doesn't have a lot of big research project experience paired up with someone who does have a lot more to get them going, right? Because that's something that, even myself as someone who's published a few times, like nobody kind of holds your hand, nobody kind of helps you as you go, and you kind of do it on your own. So it's nice to talk to someone who's done it before.
Yeah, that's great. I have another question or comment. Justin says, I know I learned a lot about how U of A/U of C worked in terms of policies, unions, faculty member expectations compared to my place of work at U of M outside of research discussion.
Well, that's awesome. That's why it's good we talk to each other.